After Nasa leaves, Tsukasa heads back to their apartment and thinks about the past. She feels lonely as she returns to the apartment because there is no one to greet her, and she is disappointed Nasa left her after the bathhouse. She wonders when Nasa will come back and decides she will make him proud by cleaning up the apartment. However, she finds that the apartment is quite clean and there isn't a lot to clean. She is also afraid of finding some illicit materials around the apartment. She decides instead to cook something delicious for when he returns. She hears the doorbell and is surprised to see a girl named Chitos. Chitos makes fun of the shabby apartment and Tsukasa closes the door on her. Chitos is here to pick her up and take her to a better place, and she apologizes for making fun of the apartment. Tsukasa had previously been staying with Chitos and her family but left suddenly, so Chitos decided to go look for her. She gets a little too close, and Tsukasa tells her to return home to tell her grandmother Tokiko that she is married now, and she goes back into the apartment. Chitos is sad to hear that she is married and cries on the apartment steps. Nasa sees her crying and comforts her. Chitos tells him about a family member who has run away from home and won't return. Nasa wishes he could help somehow as Chitos describes her as a free-flying glass butterfly. They start to talk, but Chitos realizes that Nasa is actually Tsukasa's husband after Tsukasa arrives, and she becomes incredibly angry. Nasa introduces himself, and this seems to calm Chitos, who still feels that Tsukasa should not be married to him. Nasa uses his speech skills and starts to cool the conversation, but Chitos becomes unimpressed and summons her bodyguards who kidnap him. Chitos interrogates him and feels he must be a swindler or a scam artist. They go to her mansion where she reveals her plan to spread rumors of infidelity to get Nasa and Tsukasa divorced. She summons her maids Charlotte and Aurora and demands that they get risque photos of Nasa, and Charlotte starts to strip. Chitos stops her and states that they only need to make sure Tsukasa hates Nasa and they don't need to do anything drastic. But while they were talking, Nasa has run off. Lost in the mansion, Nasa explores his surroundings and inside a room sees a rock on display. The shape and composition of the rock reminds him of the moon, and he realizes it might actually be a moon rock. He wonders how this family could have gotten a moon rock, since they are precious artifacts from the moon landing and are usually in museums. Charlotte arrives with a sword and swears to eliminate him for trespassing. She accidentally hits the display and the container almost breaks until Nasa fixes it. Chitos accidentally reveals that the rock is actually Tsukasa's gift to the family, and is surprised that Nasa knows very little about his wife's past. She is shocked to hear he doesn't know her that well, and she recalls when she was little Tsukasa actually saved her while they were climbing. She is angry because she feels that she should be married to Tsukasa. The maids enact their plan and Charlotte hugs him. Afterwards, Aurora photoshops his face in the photo so it looks like he is cheating on Tsukasa. They are shocked how well the photo turned out, and see that Tsukasa has arrived and is not happy to see the photo. She easily detects the Photoshop, but Chitos demands Tsukasa divorces Nasa. Tsukasa summons Nasa for a private conversation, but she really was just helping him escape. He apologizes for the photo, but Tsukasa isn't really angry because she knows it's a Photoshop, and if it wasn't he wouldn't be alive. She reveals a hidden passageway in the mansion they used to escape Chitos and the maids, and Nasa is confused since he doesn't know her past at all. However, he feels that it doesn't matter and that as long as they are married everything will be alright. The escape passage leads to an old church, and she reveals that the mansion and the church were built during the Meiji Restoration. She is happy to be able to show him the church. He professes his love for her again with a formal proposal, and they kiss. At home, Tsukasa wants to watch Space Josnado, a movie about sharks in space, but is shocked to find that Nasa doesn't have a TV. She realizes that he knows nothing about movies and television, and demands to know what he has been doing all his life. Since she is incredibly passionate about movies and television, she wants to share her hobby with him, so they can both be excited about movies. She asks that he catches up on movies even if there are way too many movies and shows to go through, but asks that he try to watch as many movies as possible. He is surprised with how passionate she is about movies since she is normally laid back. They go TV shopping, and Nasa is confused about all the choices that are offered. Tsukasa tells him to just buy a cheap TV since she will be happy regardless of the quality of the television. Later at the bathhouse, Kaname is surprised to hear that Nasa has formally proposed to Tsukasa, but compliments him for taking the important step. She asks if they have wedding rings, and is shocked that he never thought about the wedding rings. She criticizes him for not taking her on any trips, or to any restaurants, or buying her any presents. While waiting for Tsukasa to finish her bath, Nasa thinks about wedding rings and how expensive a ring might be for Tsukasa. On their way home, he tells her that he will be working that day, and they stop by a park. They enjoy the park silently, but he wonders if they should do something other than watch the lake silently. He wonders if she is worried about him going to work, and they kiss. The maids are spying on them and are shocked to see them intimate in public. The couple are embarrassed even if they think they are alone. They return from the park, and Nasa expresses his worry that Tsukasa will be gone when he finishes work. and she tells him not to worry. At work, he wonders if she is lonely and comes to the conclusion that is what wedding rings are for, to remind couples of each other. He remembers taking a lot of service jobs in an attempt to find her after their first meeting and how he was sad for a long time. When he returns home, she has a dinner prepared. Over dinner, he suggests they get engagement rings, and she is surprised to see him acting romantic. She doesn't think an engagement ring is necessary since they are already married, and finds that he is confused about the differences between engagement and wedding rings. Where engagement rings are often expensive and flashy, used for parties, and wedding rings are more simple and custom for the couple. She feels the idea is romantic, but not practical for them as wedding rings are expensive. He argues that he really wants wedding rings as a sign of their love, and Tsukasa is pretty sure Nasa has no idea how expensive diamonds really are. So the next day she brings him to a diamond shop, and he is shocked to see how expensive wedding rings are. The saleswoman reveals they are expensive because their shop sells the highest quality diamonds in the world, and that no couple would be satisfied with cheap jewelry. He wonders if he should buy the rings because it is a once-in-a-lifetime purchase and he has just enough if he spends all his money. But Tsukasa intervenes and they escape the store. He really wants to buy the rings, but Tsukasa is adamant they buy something cheaper and they go to a lower quality store. He is excited to see that the prices are lower, but they are still very expensive to Tsukasa. Later, he reveals to her that he wants to buy a ring so that if they are separated, they can think of each other. She is charmed and they go back to the low-quality store to get the cheapest rings available. He wonders if a cheap ring is okay, and she says the rings don't matter as much compared to the memory of buying them, as she will never forget him buying the wedding ring for her. Over the past several nights, Nasa has noticed Tsukasa's routine of messily moving around at night, sleepwalking and getting water, and then falling asleep all over the place. That night, she accidentally crawls into his bed and Nasa can't help but hug her even if he is really embarrassed. She wakes up and kisses him before falling asleep on the floor again. Due to her sleep habits, he is often unable to sleep well. That morning, he decides that the situation cannot continue and that his wife can't keep sleeping on the floor. He decides that they need a bigger bed, but that the apartment also doesn't have the space for it. He wonders if they should move to a larger apartment where they can have a living room and can get a bigger TV. Excited, he thinks about the possibilities of a larger apartment and asks if she is interested in moving into a larger place, but she is satisfied with a small place because then they are closer together. At the bathhouse, Kaname has heard that they were thinking of moving, and is surprised to hear that Tsukasa sleeps on the floor. He tells her that Tsukasa is happy the way things are, but Kaname tells him she would be angry if her future husband kept them in an apartment with no bath. Returning that night, he accidentally walks in on her changing, and in their embarrassment he proposes that they move to a larger place to avoid future accidents. She is still concerned about the cost, and he tells her if they move to a larger place they can buy a movie projector so she can watch more movies, and that in a larger place he can get a bookshelf so that she can keep a collection of movies. They think about getting a new place but need a guarantor, and Nasa realizes he hasn't told his parents they are married. He calls his mother and tells her that he is married and then hangs up. Nasa reveals to Tsukasa that he told his parents about the accident and that she was the one to save him. They decide since they need his parents' help for the apartment, it would be a good time for Tsukasa to meet his parents. He is a bit worried about meeting them, and he suddenly gets texts from his mother, who has determined he is contacting them for help to get a new apartment. In exchange for their help, his parents demand that the couple visit them. His parents live in another prefecture, so he wonders if they could have a nice honeymoon during the visit. Tsukasa overhears him, and at her request they buy a camera since she wants to document their new life together with a picture diary. They start with taking a few pictures of Tsukasa next to the lake, and Nasa finds that he really enjoys photography. The next day they travel to Kyoto and take pictures along the way. She is excited to meet his parents. Meanwhile, Chitos is spying on them with her maids and wonders why they are using a bus instead of using a high-speed rail. They take a car to stalk the couple. Tsukasa sleeps very well on the bus, but Nasa finds the seats very uncomfortable. But he acts happy for her sake as they rest. Chitos and the maids watch, and Chitos' jealousy announces that no matter what she will get them divorced. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.